afternoon and good morning and whatever else it might be in whatever day and whatever time it might be in your location to Forever Motorsports for now qualifying in China after having had the sprint race this morning a little bit earlier on, of course, which saw Max Verstappen dominate the field after he started up in fourth position. Alonso was fighting it around with quite a few drivers as well, and then unfortunately clipped Carlos Sainz in that dramatic lap there near the end of the sprint and could not finish the race as a result, got a puncture, and they decided to retire the car as a result. So very disappointing race for Fernando Alonso, but an interesting sprint race for a few drivers there. Max Verstappen managing to start fourth, as I say, and then finishing up there in first. If you guys did watch it, please let me know your comments and your thoughts about the sprint race, what you thought was good, what you thought was unfortunate. Were you happy with the results in the sprint race? Of course, it's a slightly different way we go about the season this year now, because normally we'd have qualifying earlier this morning and then we'd have the sprint race. Now we have the sprint race and going into qualifying, so it almost makes it a bit more of a timid sprint race, because if you have an issue in sprint race, then you've got this thing that happens where you're going to essentially have you want to make sure that the cars are right for qualifying. You don't want to risk qualifying become a problem. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was a bit of a timid sprint race from a couple of drivers. I mean, look, they went for it in that 16th lap, as I say, when Perez, Alonso, Leclerc, and Sainz were all having it out of each other. But we did see some good overtakes there, but otherwise, fairly standard sprint race there. Verstappen waiting for his moment in about lap 9 to start making those overtakes happen. Lewis Hamilton could do nothing about it. But he managed to get a half-decent result. I think he was quite chuffed with the result. And yeah, I think qualifying will certainly be interesting based off of yesterday's session. The only difference is that, of course, weather's not going to affect it as much, which means that our more standard drivers should be near the top there. We're not going to see the likes of Max Verstappen struggling to get a lap in like we saw yesterday. We should see your main drivers getting their good laps in, and we should see normal qualifying times from all the various teams. Teams we want to be watching out for, I think we're going to be watching Tsunoda. I think Tsunoda and Ricciardo, it's a big weekend for Ricciardo. I think Ricciardo is going to be possibly looked at after this race weekend to see whether or not he stays. It's going to be a big decision in the RB camp as to what happens there. So he needs to outperform his teammate Yuki Tsunoda if he wants to stay this weekend. So keep an eye on him. Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas did quite well yesterday in both the SQs as well as the sprint itself. So watch out for that team there. Of course, Zhou Guanyu, the home driver here in China. So keep an eye out on him. The Williams have been slow, and it's been a bit of a concern for them. So something that we certainly want to look at, as well as the Mercedes. I think even in qualifying, I mean, Lewis Hamilton did something decently in SQ3 yesterday because it was in the wet, but I think George Russell was certainly struggling throughout it as well. So James is here having a comment saying, do we feel Hamilton can compete in the dry conditions? To be honest, I don't. I think Mercedes have been struggling this weekend. Generally, I don't think they're going to be able to compete really with the Ferrari and the Red Bull, at least. Perhaps with McLaren. James also saying nothing else. It will probably be a good mental boost for him to challenge how everything briefly in the sprint. I assume you mean how everything went in the sprint at least. So you should be able to challenge a little bit. I'm hoping so. I think it will give him a little bit more confidence than he's had for a good long while, especially this season. He's really had a tough start to the season. Hopefully that does give him a little bit of a boost, the sprint race result. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on Lewis Hamilton, but I still think in the dry conditions here, the Mercedes won't be as quick as they were yesterday in the sprint qualifying, and I think also this morning in the sprint race itself. Noel Portquit is also joining us here. Hello again, everybody, and hello to you as well. Whilst you guys are joining, be sure to like the video as well and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the description as well. You can go and see one of our partners there, BITDEFENDER, for all your cybersecurity needs. Get award-winning cybersecurity in the description. You can go and click on that link. It takes you to our affiliate page, and you can get a discount on that as well and get brilliant protection for all your mobile devices and or other devices from all internet threats. And yeah, just make sure that your devices are secure and that you are happy to surf the internet and everything without the threat of virus, spam, anything that could potentially harm your life in the digital world. Yeah, indeed. And also let me know in the comments who you're supporting, what you think is going to happen. We've also got a poll up saying who will finish in pole position. We've got Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, and other. Currently, Verstappen with the is currently sitting with quite a high margin there. Leclerc with a little bit more there, other with something, and Norris getting very, very few votes there. So yeah, let us know in the comment section what you guys think is going to happen. And yeah, I'm also intrigued to see any questions you had, your thoughts, as I say, about this morning's sprint qualifying race. And just general Formula One questions. We do have the titles running. We're about 5 minutes away from the start of qualifying. Of course, it's a little bit longer than sprint qualifying. Sprint qualifying, of course, we had yesterday is 12 minutes, 10 minutes, and 8-minute sessions. The actual qualifying session is 18 minutes, 15 minutes, and 12 minutes, respectively. So the shortest session is equivalent to the longest session in sprint qualifying. Of course, this is round 5 in Shanghai, China, in a year of 24 races, 24 rounds. We find ourselves in the Far East in China. Looking at the track, some stats for you as well. Currently has a distance of 5.451 kilometers, full throttle spent at 62%, and the top speed here reached is 343 kilometers an hour with 16 turns and an elevation of just 7.3 meters. The tire compounds that we have available to us this weekend, we have the C4, the C3, and the C2. The C4 being on the softer side, the C2 being on the harder side. Of course, we do have a C5, which is our absolute softest, and the C1, which is our absolute hardest. We are sitting comfortably in the middle there with the C4, 3, and 2. And of course, we are here in Shanghai International Circuit. It's a beautiful track. It is a very, very fun track. And I certainly quite enjoyed playing the track. I think drivers enjoyed driving around it as well. The current conditions here are partly cloudy, 21 degrees Celsius. Track temperatures 35 degrees, a lot warmer than yesterday's sprint qualifying. There's a much less windy track as well, with 11.5 kilometer northwest wind and quite high humidity at 57%. Though rain is not expected for the session, so hopefully that means that we won't see weather affected like we did yesterday in sprint qualifying. We should see normal sprint, normal qualifying conditions and normal racing conditions. Noel here saying, I really hoped Lando could pull off a win in the sprint earlier. I don't think I ever thought he would win it, if I must be frank, because I just thought with Max Verstappen at least just right behind him, I thought that there's something would happen there. And Lando Norris again, I think just took too much of a risk in that very first corner there. He went around the outside. You can never really stick around the outside too much. He should have just conceded the position. Probably could have got it back if he just stuck close to Lewis Hamilton for the rest of the lap. But risked too much, lost all those positions, and the entire race was ruined before you could even get going. So very disappointing for Lando Norris, but hopefully he'll learn from it and bounce back in this session right now. Lindy is joining us. Hello, everyone. Hello to you as well. Great to have you here. And if there's any more regulars that are joining us right now, please be sure to let me know. And if you aren't a regular, also let me know and tell me where you're watching from. Always nice to know where everybody tunes in from around the world. So as I say, quite a few teams are currently in the pits. They have already left the pits and into the pit lane, getting ready to go for qualifying. Now, of course, yesterday in the sprint qualifying, you had tire specifications as to which tires you were allowed to use in those sessions. In normal qualifying conditions, you can use whatever tires you want, and therefore everybody pretty much goes out on the soft tire. Bob's here joining us in the comments as well, saying, yeah, I think Hamilton can compete now. Maybe. I think it's going to be difficult again, but I'm hoping he's got a little bit of confidence to make it a bit more interesting near the top. The Lindy also saying, wishing Zhou all the best. Indeed, Zhou had quite a good day yesterday, and not a bad day this morning as well in the sprint. Obviously didn't get any points, but still finished relatively all right in his Kick Sauber car. And I think he's hoping to do something similar to yesterday's sprint qualifying sessions, where the Kick Saubers made it into the final session. If they can even get to just the second session, I think it'll be quite an impressive feat for that Kick Sauber team, which has really struggled so far this season. And we have now pretty much got the start of qualifying one. And yeah, there we go. We have the start of qualifying one. An 18-minute session. And we've got all of the basically minnow teams out right now. The major teams yet to make their move. And they'll wait a little bit here And yeah, quite a few drivers making their way out, people getting upset with each other, and that's going to be a penalty, I can tell you right now, for the Haas. I think the Haas there has crossed a white line and has just decided to go straight ahead of one of the kick Saabers. Problem is, you're not allowed to stop in the pit lane, and yet we're going very slowly in the pit lane. So it's, I mean, these new pit lane rules do say that you can't go that slowly, and everyone really seems to be taking their time in the pits these days, and it really irritates me. I think there needs to be a minimum speed in the pit lane. Like, once there's a green light, there needs to be a minimum speed for those at the front of the queue each time. So yeah, I think if they put those sort of rules in place, we'll see something change. But yeah, Lindy was saying, I heard Sky Craig interview Zhou will be a considering factor in track negotiations. Chinese Grand Prix is only for 2024 and 2025. Indeed, I would be upset to see it leave, but I think also I'm not too upset if it does leave the calendar for a different track. I still think there needs to be space for a South African or at least an African track at some point. The fact that we don't go to the entire continent of Africa at any point is quite upsetting. We used to, of course, in Formula One history, but we no longer do. I think there needs to be a way, and there needs to be a real push to try and get one back, at least in South Africa. I think because there's a lot of history here in Kyalami. Even if they go down to Cape Town, whatever happens. But I think it would be really great to have a race down here. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it is going to be a different sort of thing to consider for the Grand Prix in China with having a Chinese driver there. Yeah, we'll see if they do stick around after 2025. Bob saying, same rule as yesterday for me. If Sainz doesn't get top 4, I'll do 50 push-ups. Well, definitely going to be doing some fitness perhaps today. We'll have to see. Let's see if he will help you out a little bit more in this qualifying session, Bob. Lindy was also saying apparently the general sense is that the Chinese want a winner, not a top athlete who occasionally gets points. Ouch, what a heavy pressure. Well, it is China. They do have quite a few billion people. So yeah, there's going to be high expectations. Problem is, he's not exactly in a team that can compete right near the top there. Yeah, so just under 15 and a half minutes remaining of Q1. We've now got to start cars just about starting their first hot laps for the day. And I think, unless our timing boards are incorrect, Sainz has come out on mediums. I very much doubt it. If you guys are joining again as the session is underway now, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know where you're tuning in from. As Zhou Guanyu, the home driver, who we've been talking about, does start his first fast lap of the day in that kick Saab of his on soft tires. Of course, we are allowed any tires we want in this session. Right. And he's coming towards sector 1, and his sector 1 time is at 25.5 seconds. It's not brilliant, it's not bad either. So he'll continue on here. He's going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic as he goes around, as he comes past a McLaren now. And yeah, McLaren doing very well to get out of the way there, not affecting Zhou's lap in the slightest. This is a big season for Zhou Guanyu as well, don't forget, because he didn't do very well last season in the Alfa Romeo car. He's now in the kick Sauber. I think there wasn't as much pressure because he was in such a poor car. But this season, even though the car is not necessarily great, there's still going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform, because I think, Formula One is about to have a big shake-up in terms of drivers around the grid. And, nobody's going to be let, or rather given a get-out-of-jail-free card. I think it's all going to be on performance basis. And so quite a few drivers will be in trouble. I think Ricciardo's already under the cosh right now. Zhou Guanyu will be looked at. Definitely Logan Sargent's going to be looked at. Those sort of things are going to happen, unfortunately. So Zhou's finishing up his lap now. Russell has stolen the first sector fastest time away from Sainz, who had set it just before him. So yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see the Mercedes going around a little bit quicker. But Zhou has given up on his lap. He's not going to finish it up. He's going to go straight into the pits there. I think he made a bit of a difficult sector 3, so he's going to come back into the pits. He's not going to finish up his lap, so we're not going to have a lap from him. And Gasly has finished up a lap for himself at 136.9. Hulkenberg, Ocon, and Tsunoda following those, and Magnussen now goes quickest to 136.6. But here comes Carlos Sainz. Tsunoda saying on the RB car that my DRS is not working. Not good news for Yuki Tsunoda at all, as Carlos Sainz now crosses the line on medium tires with a 136.9 to put himself up there in third. Russell now comes across the line at 136.4. He's on the soft tire. Ferrari's on the medium tire, only 0.2 seconds slower is Sainz, so not too bad in the medium tire there for Ferrari. Now, Lando Norris, he's going around the track, he's doing all right as he comes into sector 3 now on the soft tire as well. Had such a tough sprint race this morning after a bit of a mistake into turn 1 straight away from the start of the race. Let's see if he can redeem himself in qualifying today. He comes down that final back straight, which is very, very long, 1.2 kilometers long. It is a hell of a long straight. And now comes around this time, the second to last corner. Doesn't look like it's going to be that quick a lap from him, I must be honest. But here we go, coming across the line now. Perhaps the new fastest lap. I think it will be. Nope, just short of that. Second fastest, 136.5. I still think there's a lot more pace to be found out on the track from all of these drivers. We do have some major teams out now. Red Bull are out. Alonso's out in his Mercedes. Hamilton's out in his Mercedes. So Alonso in his Aston Martin. Logan Sargent just had a bit of a moment there coming out of turn 9, I think it is. Oh, my word just goes off the track there. It's just struggling a little bit in his Williams. And it's going to be a tough one for Logan Sargent. He's under the cosh in terms of, his performance levels, and he's in a car that's not performing anywhere near where it was last season. So it's going to be a difficult one for Logan Sargent in that Williams car. Max Verstappen, our Drivers' Championship winner from last season, our current Drivers' Championship leader, as well as the race winner from this morning's sprint race, starts his fast lap in Q1. FIA stewards have noted a pit lane incident and will be investigating after the session as Leclerc now goes fastest at 135.98. Bob just saying Leclerc is good as long as the track isn't slippery. Well, the track's not currently slippery. He's moved into first position, so maybe you're not far wrong there, Bob, in the comments there. Naman here is joining us. Just joined. What happened to Hamilton? Nothing's happened to Hamilton. He is yet to put a lap in. He's currently setting up his lap right now. And it's not a brilliant lap for him at all. I will say that much. As Alonso and Stroll put themselves right near the top there, as well as Bottas. Alonso is currently our fastest driver with 10.5 minutes remaining, 1 minute 35.1, almost into the 134s. But here comes Max Verstappen down that back straight there. And I think we might see the quickest lap here. Lance Stroll currently holds the purple sector for Sector 2 there in his Aston Martin. Big day for Lance Stroll as well. They were talking about him and his future in Formula 1. And I think that's also going to be an interesting thing to look at because Lance Stroll, of course, not a lot of people think that he should be there. As Max Verstappen goes around second fastest, he's actually slower to Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso goes around quicker than Max Verstappen. But the Aston Martin's qualifying pace seems not to be too bad. But as we saw this morning, the race pace is going to struggle a little bit. They just can't put up with those cars around them. They just seem to be a little bit slower. And watching a replay here of the Mexican Red Bull driver, that being Sergio Perez, gets held up badly by Williams. Absolutely terrible. Quite dangerous, actually. And he had to abort his lap immediately. That's going to be a penalty. Alex Albon says, I got out of his way as much as I could there. There's no way I could have got out of the way more. Sergio Perez does go off the racing line, though. It's a bit of an odd one. So, yeah, I'm surprised by that. Lance Stroll also just had a bit of a moment. Was that on his fast lap that he had that moment? If he did have that moment on his fast lap, then Lance Stroll not doing too badly at all in his out lap there because, it was not a bad lap otherwise because he had a big moment since that second last corner and still up there in fourth position ahead of Leclerc, Sargent, and various others. Sargent finished up there in sixth position. Alex Albon now finishing up his lap there. Going back to that incident with Sergio Perez, I think it was a bit rough from Sergio Perez. I think actually he could have been fine there. I think he just got a bit put off by the car there. Piastri now setting his lap. He set the fastest sector in Sector 1, so let's follow him closely as a few cars make their way back into the pits. Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen right at the top there. Valtteri Bottas and his kick Sauber in third. Again, his kick Sauber's doing something good to see. Zhou Guanyu, as I say, that just finishes up his lap in sixth position in his kick Sauber. Piastri still going around. Race control has noted an incident involving Albon and Perez noted for impeding. Albon now finishing up his lap. Let's see where he goes. Oscar Piastri sets another purple sector in Sector 2. He's currently 0.2 seconds up on Alonso's time, so this could be quite a quick lap into the 134s for Oscar Piastri and his McLaren. He didn't have a great race this morning in the sprint race. I'm hoping that he does something differently in the qualifying session today and as well as in the race tomorrow. As James says, the track is evolving. It is definitely evolving. We're seeing quicker times getting put in. I also think we're going to see fresher tires get put on. Bob saying, I think Zhou will get points for Sauber. I think that's going to be a tough ask, but perhaps they look like they could be able to do it this weekend as Alex Albon goes over in 4th position, a 135.7. Piastri now finishing up his lap. Let's see where he finishes up. And DMX here saying Bottas doing pretty well. Indeed, he is doing pretty well up there in 3rd. As Piastri now crosses the line, not into the 134s, a 135.014. Disappointing not to get into the 134s for Oscar Piastri, but he still goes on to into 1st position for Q1 here. Now, Sainz is going on his fast lap. He's currently in sector 2. Let's see what he can do. He's now put on a set of soft tires. He had set his first lap on a set of mediums just to see where they were. It wasn't actually that bad a lap on the set of mediums, to be fair. So let's see what happens. Tsunoda now saying that his DRS is now working. Good to see that they finally got that working with 7 minutes remaining in the session. Bit of a problem for him to have had that. Sainz now, look at that. In sector 2, got a purple sector for himself. He's currently down at 17th after setting it on a set of mediums. I'm sure that we'll see him do quite well in sector 3 as well in that Ferrari car. And I'm hoping that Ferrari do quite well this weekend as well, because I think the car's got pace to challenge. Not necessarily with Max Verstappen, but certainly elsewise. And maybe Max Verstappen has a bit of a problem in the race tomorrow that he has to deal with, and then maybe it opens the field up to a little bit more of a competitive session. As Sainz comes on the second to last quarter, and yeah, he looks like he could be putting in a very, very quick lap here. And he comes on the final corner. Great lines there. This could be in the 134s. This will be in the 134s. A 134.9. 7 for Carlos Sainz. He goes to the top of the charts. It's Sainz, Piastri, Alonso, then Verstappen and Bottas finishing up the top 5. Looking at this, saying, yeah, DMX saying Bottas doing pretty well. Bob saying Bottas doing extremely well. Well, he's currently up there in 5th with just under 6 minutes remaining of the session. A few people have made their way back into the pits. They're going to make their way back out again as well. Current drivers at risk: Lando Norris, Hamilton, Perez, Ricciardo, and Magnussen. Those drivers are currently in our bottom 5, and I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle there for a couple of them because, I mean, we've got big drivers down in the bottom 5 there, and not too much time remaining in the session. It's not panic stations yet, but Hamilton's still in the pits. Perez is on his outlap after having to abandon it. And, you know, these drivers, the times aren't too far away from each other. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a thing to worry about. I think near the end of the session, we're looking at drivers like Russell, Leclerc, Stroll, their current times. I don't think they're necessarily quick enough. From 4th upwards, I think they don't need to go out again. Sainz, Piastri, Alonso, Verstappen, I think they're all good. I think they can remain in the pits. I don't think we'll see much quicker times than those. And if we do, we'll see the times around there. I think they're relatively good. But Lando Norris now starts a hot lap for himself. So let's see what he can do on this lap. Will we see a new fastest lap for the session? I'm hoping so. And I certainly think the track is evolving as much to allow for that to happen. So let's see that happen. And whilst you guys are also watching along and listening, please be sure to like the video again and share this with your friends and share it with anybody else and get people on board. Ask me some questions, like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. Yanni here saying, I just heard a rumor that Aston Martin are going to pit Alonso and then have Stroll crash and bring out a pass car during the race. I very much doubt that anything like that will be happening. I don't think that we're going to try as hard as that for anything to happen. No, I think that'll be quite a bit of a scheming thing, and they won't necessarily do that. I think that's a bit of a little funny story that comes out. Russell is doing better than sprint qualifying, says Bob. Well, we'll have to see. He's currently up in 7th. It's not necessarily better. We'll have to see. Cadlejo here saying Hamilton has set a time right. He has now. He's down in 18th, but he will set another time. He's in the pits currently. He'll come out of the pits very shortly to set a time, but he has set a time, just not a very quick one. Norris going around. He's not actually set any purple sectors. Neither has Perez, who's now finished up sector 1 and he's coming into sector 2. So we're going to have to watch them. He's not going as quickly as Lando Norris as we might have thought he would do, but let's see what he does in the final sector here. Maybe finds a bit more speed as he comes around the final corner. This will be quicker than Sargent. He'll get himself out the danger zone at 134. There he goes, quickest lap in the final sector. He finds all the time that he needs. A 134.842 for Lando Norris. That should be safe enough to stay for Q2. Perez now comes into sector 3. He's not actually that far up in Zhou Guanyu's time. He currently sits in 15th. He's the driver at risk in 15th position. Perez not going that much quicker than the Kicksauber and the home driver. So eyes on Perez here. This could be a bit of a problem for him. Ricciardo also still in that drop zone. So is Hamilton. Perez, this is going to be his first time set. And we've just noted there that Alex Albon and Perez's impeding incident will no longer be investigated. So Perez will not have to unfortunately get his way with regards to a penalty. But Perez now crossed the line up there in 6th. It's not a brilliant lap from him, but up there in 6th. Will it be quick enough to hold him into qualifying 2? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see if that does happen. 2.5 minutes remaining of the session, so not a lot of time for these drivers. So if they want to get out, they want to get out now. And indeed, there goes Magnussen, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Sargent, and Zhou, all on outlets, as well as Ocon and Stroll, Russell and Albon, Leclerc, pretty much everybody down from Bottas going on outlaps. I'm sure we'll see Bottas as well go on an outlap for himself. Zhou Guanyu, the home driver, starts a fast lap for himself. Let's see if he can get himself out of the elimination zone, which he's just found himself in. And I'm hoping that we'll see him bounce further up the lines there. You know, he got into SQ3 yesterday. Let's see if he can get anywhere near Q3 today. Of course, rain did help that a little bit, but let's find out. And indeed, unleashed, it says on the back of the Kickstarter car, and Zhou Guanyu is unleashed into Sector 1. He's 0.26 seconds up on Hulkenberg's time, which means that he will currently get himself out of that elimination zone. But of course, all the other drivers around him are also finishing up their final hot laps for this Q1 session. And he's going around quite well. He's really having to bounce around here on the track. It's quite a difficult section of the track for Zhou Guanyu. And yeah, there you go. He goes into Sector 3. His time compared to Hulkenberg's is almost 0.5 seconds up on that time. Then Bottas has also just improved his lap. He's up into 5th place. He's gone quicker than both Red Bulls. Max Verstappen's now on an out lap. I think they smell danger. The top 4 people have not come out of the pits, so they're not going to come out again. That's Norris, Sainz, Piastri, and Alonso. Those 4 reckon that they've got a quick enough time to stay in this for Q2. They're going to remain in the pits. Everybody else has gone for an out lap. They think there's a little bit of danger there. Verstappen, I think, just doing it just in case. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. Let's see what the yellow flag is. Green flag, I think somebody just went off the track temporarily and then came back on. So no problems. I don't think it will affect the session too much. Zhou Guanyu now comes across the line and he goes into 8th position. Will that be quick enough? Might be. The Chinese fans are very happy with it. They're happy to see him get up there into 8th. So the Chinese fans have been very happy with Zhou Guanyu so far this weekend, and it continues to be happy, although he now drops down into 9th as Alex Albon finished up a lap on a 135.3. That's a bit of a concern for Kickstarter's Zhou, because if a Williams is up there in 7th, that means that there's definitely enough time to find that maybe Zhou does drop into that elimination zone. We've got only 15 seconds remaining, which means everybody currently finishing up their laps. This is going to be their last attempt. Will Tsunoda make the line? He's not going. He's currently still on his out lap. He hasn't started it yet. Oh, he has started it. Very, very well timed. Very well timed. He's going to be the last car to come across the line there. Hulkenberg's gone up into 4th position. We've got some really quick times happening here. This could be problems for some of these drivers. Because I think we're going to see some very different times right near the end of the session here. As Hamilton now, he's going to have to get himself out of the bottom 5 there. He only goes into 12th. That's not brilliant for Hamilton at 135.5. He's going to be looking over his shoulders. Ricciardo goes 9th. Hamilton's in big danger here, ladies and gentlemen. Huge danger here for Hamilton. So Leclerc, he also needs to make sure he nails this lap. But I think we might even lose Lewis Hamilton here in the final few seconds of this Q1 session. Stroll goes into 8th. That pushes Hamilton even further down. He's currently in 14th. He's almost to the driver at risk. He's almost going to drop into his driver at risk right now as Russell goes into 5th position in his Mercedes. Hamilton's in huge danger here. Ricciardo has got himself up into 11th, so he should be all right. But Gasly, Ocon, and Leclerc still need to go around. Verstappen confirms his place right at the top there. He finished up a lap at 134.7. He goes to the top of the tables here. Here comes Gasly and Ocon and the Alpines. Will they go quicker than Hamilton? Hamilton's still looking over his shoulder. Will it be a problem for Lewis Hamilton? Here comes Gasly. Gasly's got to go ahead. Hamilton's out. Hamilton's officially out. Hamilton's not going to be in Q2. A terrible session for Hamilton after having a half-decent sprint race this morning. No confidence clearly for qualifying. And Ocon also goes into 11th, pushes Hamilton down into 17th. Leclerc now needs to cross the line half-decently. Will he go quicker than Max Verstappen? He won't, but it's pretty much right on his time. Into 2nd place for Charles Leclerc. Perez is also a driver at risk. He's finished up. If Yuki Tsunoda goes quicker than Perez, then he will stay there. Oh, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. Sergio Perez survives by the skin of his teeth. By the skin of his teeth, Sergio Perez survives. And Zhou Guanyu, unfortunately, I said, I don't think it's going to necessarily be safe up there, and it wasn't. And he is eliminated, just eliminated by 0.048 seconds in 16th position. Unfortunately, the home driver is eliminated. Our 5 drivers that have dropped out. Logan Sargent, Yuki Tsunoda, after all of the DRS problems, also out of this session. Once again, being outperformed by his teammate Ricciardo. Hamilton, big name there in 18th. Magnussen 17th. And Zhou Guanyu in 16th. Sergio Perez was in 15th. Just survived Very, very, very interesting session right at the end of Q1 there, just watching Logan Sargent spin. That's caused the yellow flag temporarily during that session before the green was given away, obviously. Lost it there completely, and that was his final lap there. Unfortunately, could not put anything quicker. Didn't damage the car, but certainly wrecked those tires quite a bit as he went onto the gravel and then had to get back to the pits there. And Hamilton, unfortunately, just let's see where he lost time in that lap there, because he must have lost time. Yeah, he did just went deep into turn 14. That's why Lewis Hamilton has gone out there. He really messed up his lap right at the end there. Oh my word. My word, there you go. That is terrible, as James says. Hamilton out. Going back to the comments here, that is quite a bit of a thing. Yeah, damage Zhou too. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting session for the next one. It was very close at the end there for quite a few drivers, and good thing that some of those top four drivers went back out there, because they might not have made it through. Perez in the radio saying, yeah, that was close. Yeah, and it just knows and recognizes that that was almost a terrible session for him. Yeah. A lot of work here for Hamilton tomorrow. Indeed, he does. Cadlejo saying they had a poor strategy, to be honest. Well, I'm not sure it's necessarily poor strategy. I just think Hamilton messed up his lap quite badly there. James saying Logan is just not really cutting it. He's trying too hard. That's Logan Sargent. Indeed, yeah, I think it's not quite his sport. I don't think he suits Formula One. How much do you have to see him right at the bottom there in 20th position the whole time until you realize it's just not his sport? It really isn't. And Q2 will get going in just a little while, of course, until we get there. Again, be sure to like the video if you haven't already. Comment again your thoughts about Q1's session. How surprised are you that Hamilton is out? And subscribe to the channel if you are new and if you have not already done so. And also go check out our channel sponsors in the description there. If you're looking for a way to watch Formula One, we do have a way for you. You can follow the description again. There's instructions how you can do it following our partner ExpressVPN. Sonoda on the radio saying, I mean, there's definitely something going on. I can't be, well, effing 19th. Honestly, the lap was pretty good. So, yeah, saying that it's not his fault, something's wrong with the car, because he reckons he did fine. So Yuki Tsunoda, again, like he did in the sprint qualifying yesterday, making excuses for himself. Yeah, Bob saying Q1 was fun. Indeed, it was quite fun. DMX saying, yeah, Merck was not doing well this season, and they have not been doing well this season, rather. And yeah, it's exactly that. Bob saying, I forgot Logan existed. That's quite a harsh one, but you're not far wrong either, as he walks down the walk of shame down the pit lane to go and get weighed and finish up his session there out of the car, of course. He is out of the session as well. Yanni here saying, Logan, take up tennis with Lance. Well, you know, there was always rumors that Lance Stroll would take up a bit of tennis. Maybe that will happen. Joe on the radio saying, it was really difficult. I don't know why. I just lost all the grip into turn 14. So unfortunately for Zhou Guanyu, his success this weekend has come to an end. He is out in 16th position in Q1, not able to make it into Q2 rather. Bottas, though, his teammate, made it up into 9th position, so he did quite well in his kick-style. But Alex Albon's also quite dejected. He's actually into Q2, of course, but I think he knows that it's not really going to be a quick enough car this season, that Williams car. He's not sounding very excited this season. He's not been very happy this season. And I think that's because he knew that he could have possibly moved into a big seat at the end of the season. But in a car like this, it's going to struggle to be seen because he just can't seem to find any pace in that Williams. Hopefully people remember that the Williams car is a proper struggling car at the moment, and they'll still be seen. But yeah, Alex Albon, I think, a little bit upset with the performance of that Williams car, and hoping that will improve a little bit more as the season goes along. But he's into Q2. Let's see if he can try and compete maybe for Q3. Bottas's Kick Sauber, of course, did manage to get the 9th fastest time in that session. Will he be able to make it into Q3 in the next session? That's a big question to ask, of course, as well. So Q2 will be 15 minutes long. It'll get going in just a little while. I think some cars are making their way out into the pit lane as well. So we'll see what happens there. And Christopher Snowden says, anyone seen Jos Verstappen in the RB garage since he threw his teddy out of the pram? Well, I haven't actually. It's a good point. I have not seen Jos Verstappen in the pit garage for a little while. But I doubt very much that he'd be banned from it, considering he is Max Verstappen's father, of course. And Q2 has got going. 15 minutes remaining of the session. Q2 is underway. And let's see what happens here. Everyone's not really made too much movement in Q2. I think they know it's a slightly shorter session. They can't put in as many laps, one less laps, rather than risk it. They're just going to wait a little while here before getting going and hopefully keep these tires warm. You could see how the track just evolves completely when the tires have been left to get cold in the pit lane. So they're just going to wait a little bit here. Charles Leclerc got a lot of stuff on his car. He's not ready to go out anytime soon. Let's see how Charles Leclerc can do as well. As I say, the top 4 in that previous session was Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, and Sainz. So let's see if the Ferraris and the Red Bulls compete again in Q2. And let's see if Valtteri Bottas in this Kickstarter can get into Q3. Bob saying Behrman is only 18 years old. He is only 18 years old. It's quite incredible. And I think he might be looking at a seat potentially for next season. Quite a few drivers that might drop out there. Zhou Guanyu waving at the crowd there, but he's quite disappointed. You can see it. He's quite upset, and in his home race, unable to get into Q2. But hopefully he can do something tomorrow. This race pace of the Kick Sabres wasn't looking too bad this morning in in the sprint race, rather. Maybe he can try and make his way further up the field. I'm not thinking he'll get points. I think he's too far away for points, but he might be able to take a few overtakes, get near the top 10, and that'll be half decent weekend for him. Max Verstappen versus Sergio Perez in the head-to-head in qualifying. Sergio Perez has been outperformed by Max Verstappen every single time this season so far. So, can Sergio Perez do something different about that today? Possibly not. Hamilton's radio, let's listen. Just said, sorry, guys. And they said, no sweat, Lewis. So, you see, the difference between Lewis Hamilton and Yuki Tsunoda there, I think, is quite plain and simple for everybody to hear. Lewis Hamilton made a mistake going around the track there in his lap. And he finishes up. He's out of the session in Q1. A very simple, sorry, guys. There's no excuses made. It was just, sorry, guys, not good enough. You know, understands. Yuki Tsunoda finished up there in 19th position. Granted, he had problems in Q1. Saying, I don't understand how this is. There's no ways I should be down in 19th with the way I'm driving. This. It's arrogance. It's childlike. It's just Yuki Tsunoda is really starting to get on my nerves. And I think on a lot of people's nerves. He's an immature child. He really is sometimes. And yeah, I think that's going to cost him a lot of time this season and a lot of positions, because you need maturity and you need a cool head in Formula One. A hot head is never going to make it. So Yuki Tsunoda outperformed by Daniel Ricciardo for the second time this weekend. Ricciardo is into Q2, and he's currently making his way down the pit lane as Q2 is underway. Of course, we have been underway for a little while, and finally cars are moving. 12 minutes remaining of the session pretty much, and we've got all the cars making their way out, including Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Both Aston Martins have actually at least made it into Q2, and let's see how those Aston Martins fare this session as well. Hamilton out of contention does open up the top 10 a little bit in terms of who's going to be punting for that 10th place in Q3. The Haas's might get there. The Kickstarter Bottas might get there. Alex Albon, if he pulls off a blinder lap, might be able to get into there as well. Ricciardo, I don't think so necessarily. That RB car's not quite as quick, and the Alpine's definitely not. But let's see. Let's see what happens. Maybe we'll see a big name also drop out in Q2. Perez was very close to the drop there in Q1. Just made it into Q2. So he's got a lot of work to do in this Q2 session. Russell as well, I think, with the given that Hamilton was quite slow in Q1, Russell might be needing to look over his shoulder, because maybe his car is not going to have as much pace as he hoped it would be able to. Bob saying 10th and 12th is good for Alpine. They're definitely going to get last place in the race. Well, as I say, we'll have to see what Alpine can do, but I don't think Alpine will get into Q3, that's for sure. Vertical Taco Seashell, an interesting name, saying Chucky Tsunoda is out. Leclerc on the radio saying, I cannot stop twice like this. Yeah, again, it goes back to, I can't stand the current pit lane issues that we've currently got. I really do have an issue with it. I really have an issue with it. I never understand this new thing, and it is a new thing, and it's only developed in the last season, in the last year, this really, really slow pit lane exits, like everybody just cramping it up. I don't understand. They're all like, oh no, I want to get some space for myself. Get out into track. Just get out into track. You'll make enough space for yourself. Or just leave the pits later. I don't see the issue. I really don't see the issue. Do whatever. It's just so irritating right now. Anyway, just over 10 minutes remaining of Q2. We've yet to see proper laps get put onto the board. We've got people starting and perhaps finishing up their laps, but we're only going to start to see laps in the next minute or so get put in, and then we'll have some good indicators as to sort of times that we might expect from teams. And of course, only right near the end of the session will we have a bit of drama Until then, let's just watch all these cars make their way out on their outlaps. Watching Fernando Alonso, who had a disappointing sprint race this morning. He was doing so well until he wasn't. He clipped Sainz in that big overtake maneuver from everybody and got a puncture in his front right tire, which caused him to pit, which just basically ruins a sprint race. You can't afford to pit in a sprint race. You lose everything. And Alonso, unfortunately, lost everything. He was doing so well to keep everybody behind him for so long, and then unfortunately lost it, could not keep a hold of third position. But Alonso now starts a hot lap for himself. Can he redeem himself? The difference between him and Hamilton, as I think Alonso might be able to redeem himself, Hamilton was unable to keep his form going from this morning's sprint race, where he finished up in second position. And yeah, a lot of big name drivers now starting their hot laps. Fernando Alonso puts in the purple sector in sector 1, although he is one of the first cars going around, so that is to be expected. Piastri is following him. He now steals the purple sector away from the Aston Martin driver. And yeah, Hülkenberg is gone quickest, I think it is, around, unless I'm mistaken, everybody on the soft tire, of course, with just under 9 minutes remaining of the session. Fernando Alonso now approaching S2. Sector 2's marker, and he puts in the purple sector there, 53.5. But let's see what Piastri can do, who's following him in that McLaren, who's already had his first sector taken away from him. Will he be able to get the second sector temporarily? He does, at 53.3. So I think Alonso is going to be a little bit slow here, because these times are being beaten already quite quickly. As Fernando Alonso comes down the back straight with DRS wide open, he gets up to 336, 337 kilometers an hour. Great speeds there. Oh, I think he went a little bit quick at the end there. I think he might have gone a bit too deep into that corner there. I think he went too quickly, perhaps, as he comes on the final corner here. Let's see what Fernando Alonso's first time is in the session is. He crosses the line, a 134.8, and that is the quickest time so far in this session. Only 0.17 seconds quicker than Hülkenberg, though. Stroll was 0.29 seconds slower than that. Oscar Piastri now comes across the line. He goes quickest, 134.659. Now here comes Alex Albon in that Williams, which has been a little bit slow this year. He goes to 135.2, only good enough for sixth position. Max Verstappen flying around the track, 2 purple sectors. He's into the final sector. Lando Norris goes quickest, and a 134.4 for himself. And Max Verstappen about to come across the line in just a few seconds, and he's got 2 purple sectors. I'm sure he's going to get another purple sector here in sector 3. Here he comes across the line at 132, 133, 134, 133.9. It's 0.5 seconds quicker than Lando Norris. Blitz lap from Lando Norris from Max Verstappen, rather. Sorry. With just over 7 minutes remaining of the session, and that's going to be one to beat. I don't actually think he's going to have to do another time. That is a ridiculous time for Max Verstappen. Now here comes his teammate Sergio Perez. Can he meet something similar? No, it's going to be a little bit slower. 134.8. Oh my word, we've got Sainz. Oh my word, Sainz is into the wall slightly. He's got against the barrier. Oh dear, as he comes around the final corner, a big spin from Carlos Sainz, and he goes and hits the wall. He's not moving. He's not moving. Frederick Vasseurs hands on his... no, it's a red flag for the session. Red flag for the session. Carlos Sainz was sending it on his lap there, and he's just spun it. And he spun it, and he's gone into the wall slightly on the side there, as he just grazes the gravel a bit too much, and he hits the side there. I don't think he's broken his car, though, so I'm surprised he's not moving. It wasn't that hectic an impact. The car doesn't look to be damaged. I'm waiting to see. It just goes slightly wide and then just catches the gravel, spins out there, and just hits the wall. He seems to be fine. Just says, sorry, guys. Yep, sorry, guys. He's okay. Obviously, it wasn't that big an impact. But I'm surprised he's not moving. Don't know why his car's not moving, though. He should be able to get going. There's no real damage to the car. But those tires are ruined now. He might have damaged a few things in the car, but he should be able to go around the track, get back to the pits. Carlos Sainz is the second best qualifier so far on average this season, and he is currently looking like he might be out of this session. And disappointing for Carlos Sainz there to have caught it there. Very, very, very disappointing for him, but surely he's got his car going by now. It's still a red flag, of course, for this session. Carlos Sainz, senior 2-time World Rally Champion, looks quite upset in the pit lane there. His son has, unfortunately, binned it a little bit. There you go. His car's moving again. He should have been able to. I did say so. He is now driving without a front wing, so his front wing has fallen off, to be fair. So he's going to need to get a new front wing. And there's a bit of damage in the front of the car there, but not too much. So put a new front wing on, I reckon they should be fine. Yeah, it's just the floor now. Is the floor going to be fine? Who knows? So yeah, we'll have to see if Ferrari can try and put on a new wing and just see if they can try and put in something, because it doesn't look like there should be too much damage to Carlos Sainz. They're going to have to analyze the floor and see if the floor's fine. But he's now currently nursing the car back to the pits. It's a red flag conditions. They have to give a warning, of course. So he's got a little bit of time here if he hurries up and gets back to the pits. Get a new fresh set of tires on, fix up the front of the car. Maybe he can be able to get out there and put another fast lap in before the end of the session. And yeah, as everybody just saying, yeah, no, science, damn, Verstappen got out fast. Bummer for Carlos. James saying, impact didn't look that bad. Surprised the car can't carry on. Well, it has carried on, as you said after that. So yeah, we're going to have to wait to see what happens here. But currently, our top 5 is Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, Alonso, and Perez. They are all within a second of each other. Max Verstappen are half a second quicker than Lando Norris. Quite a ridiculous gap from Verstappen to Lando Norris there in first and second. But red flag has caused Russell to have no time, Sainz to have no time, Gasly, Ocon, and Albon to be in the bottom 10, bottom 5. Ricciardo scraping the top 10 there. Leclerc's down in 9th, Stroll in 8th, Valtteri Bottas in 7th, Hulkenberg in 6th. So as a result of this red flag, it does mean that there's not really going to be too much time for 2 push laps unless you go for a double push. So perhaps we'll see that. Which does change people's strategies as a result of this red flag. Sainz still trying to make his way back to the pits. The quicker he gets back to the pits, the quicker they can see if they can put this car back together again and try and get him into at least Q3, where they can still continue to fix up the car. So desperate times for Ferrari here. Can they get Sainz's car back out? There's going to be a difficult one. I'm hoping they can. Just watching a replay again of Carlos Sainz goes into it. He nailed the corner. It just goes slightly too wide, catches the gravel, and the moment he does that, spins the whole car around. I mean, he's actually done very, very well here to try and avoid as much contact as possible. He does a J-turn in his spin. What he does is he turns his wheels ever so slightly to the right as he's coming towards it, understanding, and then goes left to try and avoid contact with the rear. And it's brilliant driving actually in the heat of the moment by Carlos Sainz to avoid a bigger sort of bit of contact. I mean, it's exceptional recovery driving to avoid much damage, and he does avoid a lot of damage. Yes, his front wing's fallen off, but there doesn't seem to be that much wrong with the car else. Outside of that, all of the wheel arches seem to be absolutely fine. The floor, I'm hoping, is fine. It's just the front wings fallen off. There's a slight bit of damage to the front of the car, but he should be able to reattach the front wing, and then hopefully it'll be good enough to get going again. So they really need to get the car back to the pits as quickly as possible. I think he should be back in the pits now and do immediate repairs, see if they can try and do something. They've wheeled the car back in. Are they worrying about it? Are they going to bother about it? They seem to be motoring around. There's a few people sprinting around. They're going to try and get this car going. So they're going to get a front wing out. The front wing is coming. I mean, it's taken forever for them to realize that they need to get a front wing. They're only getting it off now. So yeah, maybe his car's going to be absolutely fine. Just have a bit of an analysis of the underside of the car. The biggest problem is, of course, without a front wings, they can't lift the car up right now properly the way they normally do. So they're going to have to wait for that front wing to be attached before they can. So they can't see the floor. There you go. They've got a different device to lift the car up a bit. And now they'll have to analyze the floor, see what's happening underneath it, and see if we can get back into the session. Again, no given time as to when we'll resume the session. There's currently 6 minutes and 44 seconds remaining. So let's see if they can get that car going again, and if they can and gets into Q3, a stellar job by Ferrari. I don't think there's too much damage, though. I think Sainz did manage to avoid that damage, so hopefully it shouldn't actually be that much more than just a front wing change. There you go. They put on the front wing. They've put the car pretty much almost immediately down, so I think the floor is fine. So yeah, car seems to be fine. They're just tightening some things up on the front tires. Maybe it just came slightly loose, but it seems the car is all right. So hopefully we'll still have Carlos Sainz in the session. Bob saying, I think Leclerc will get P3 in because of the amount of time he pit stops. Nah, maybe. Yeah, so currently our 5 drivers currently in the elimination zone. George Russell in Mercedes, Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, the 2 Alpines, and Alex Albon in that Williams car as well. I'm wondering who we're going to get in our bottom 5. I do think both Alpines will remain there. I think Ricciardo will probably drop into that. I think Hulkenberg might actually scrape himself into Q3, depending on how he's doing. He's doing all right so far today. He's put some quick laps in, so he might actually be there. I think we might lose a big name. I just wonder which big name. Lance Stroll will probably be lost. He doesn't seem to have the capability this season to get into Q3. So Lance Stroll, I think, is one I'm going to be watching to maybe get into that elimination zone this session. Chris, yes, saying something tells me Q2 will not be resumed. Of course it'll be resumed. There's no reason for it not to be resumed. It has to resume. They're not allowed to not resume it. They have to have a Q2 session. So it will definitely be resumed. There's nothing stopping that from happening. And in fact, I reckon that we're going to get a resumption of the session in the next few minutes. There's no real reason not to. I reckon 9:45 we'll get going. Well, that's 9:45 local time, my local time. The track time, that'll be... I actually have no idea what time it would be. Quite a cool little camera angle there. We just saw from Carlos Sainz. You could just see him, like it's on the track camera, and you can just see the car go slightly onto the gravel, and you can just hear it mainly, and then you can just know. There you go. Am I not good? Hey, I said at Q2 that's when they'll pretty much resume, and there you go. Race controls resumed, as just said that Q2. I'll get there eventually. Speak English. Will resume at 3:45 local time, which will be 9:45 my time. So I tell you, I'm going to predicting here. So should I make some predictions as to who's going to drop out of the session? Let me do so. So the 5 drivers that will drop out this session: Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Stroll, and Ricciardo. I'm going to go for all the main drivers will make it into the next one. So I'm going to say that again: Ocon, Gasly, Stroll, Ricciardo, Albon, and yeah, those 5. Ocon, Gasly, Albon, Ricciardo, and Stroll. Those are the 5 I reckon I will drop out. Let's see if I'm good at predicting. And if it continues, and if it does continue, I'm going to go and place some bets on things later, because apparently my luck might be going for me. Let's see. Yes. Good, says Chris, because there you go. We are going to get going. Bob saying that's because Leclerc isn't a smooth operator. Chris just saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Leclerc spun out last year in Miami and the whole quali got canned. I don't think that was the case. Yeah, good 3 minutes more. Yeah, indeed. So yeah, he is. We are going to get going with qualifying in just a little bit. Normally, it doesn't have we won't continue qualifying only if there's serious damage to the track, which will take it outside of a window of opportunity to get these cars out again for a qualifying session. But there's nothing in the way for that right now. So we are going to remain and continue Q2 in just a little bit. Bob saying we've got 10 more subs, y'all. Indeed, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you guys please can do so. It would really mean a lot, and also like the video as well. Yeah, invite your friends, your neighbors, your cats, your dogs, your whatever to the stream. We really do appreciate it. And again, let me know where you're watching from if you guys haven't already done so already. And if you are new, pop a message, say hello. We'd like to know. Chris here saying good will be an interesting quali, notwithstanding Max Verstappen, of course. Max Verstappen quite in a different league for himself. A 133.9, the next quickest time a 134.4, and a 0.5 second gap is huge. It is huge. We'll see if anybody can get a little bit closer. Yanni here saying, is there any grass fires today? There are no grass fires today, luckily, which is good to hear. No red flags for stupidity. So we should be all right. Q2 will get going in just about a minute's time, people. And I wonder again the strategy that people will take here. I reckon we might do a double push lap here. Carlos Sainz's car is all fine. They're not doing any work on it. They're happy. There's no damage to it. And that's all hats off to Carlos Sainz, because he managed to avoid a bigger collision than it could have been. So hopefully he'll be able to put in the time and get into Q3. And nobody is any the wiser to his little incident in Q2 there. So George Russell's been released into the pit lane before the green flag is given. He's going down the pit lane. Let's see if anybody else tries to jump him. Nobody seems to be jumping him as he comes down the pit lane. And it is green flag conditions. And there you go. It's very well timed by Mercedes because it's turned green as he just approached it. And he's going to go out and make sure that he can get himself into Q3. He's currently at the bottom of the top 15 without setting a time. Of course, same as Carlos Sainz, yet to set a time. So only 6 minutes remaining. We've got a couple of big drivers in the bottom 5 right now who've yet to set a time. I reckon the strategy here is a double push. I think it's a double push. I think it's going to be a big lap, go for a slow lap, and then do another big lap right before the end. I don't think there's enough time to head into the pits and then get back out again. So, yeah, I reckon it's a double push for everybody, which is why everybody's still in the pits. And George Russell's made his way out early just to make sure he gets into the next session. Everybody, I think, should just wait a little longer because they know it's a double push sort of session. So, nobody's going to get back into the pits, I don't think. Everybody's going to get out. Max Verstappen's on an out lap. Now, I think people will follow him out as well very shortly. So after Max Verstappen's made his way out of the pits, nobody else has really made their way out. I think Max Verstappen's only going to do one push lap perhaps, and maybe that's why he's not going to bother with a double push. Everybody else is staying in there because I think they are hoping for a double push, or maybe some of them are only going to, as the time keeps running out here, maybe they're only going to go for one more lap. They're going to risk it all. Sainz has not made his way out. I'm surprised about that. Would have thought that he'd do a double push. I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Everybody seems to be going for only a one-lap strategy. They don't think there's going to be enough time for a double. So, yeah, only Verstappen and Russell currently out on track for out laps. Everybody else is chilling in the pit lane, waiting to get going. So clearly, they're all only going to do one lap, which means it's all going to come down to the wire right at the end of the session. And we're not going to have a cooking clue as to who's going to be in our top 10 because the times are very close. And I think we'll see times be, quite dramatically different to what they are right now. So I wonder if Sainz has lost any time to that damage. We don't know about some damage that might be hidden right now in the car. We're only going to be able to find out when he goes out, which is why I'm surprised they didn't send him for a double push. But yeah, let's see what happens here. As George Russell is coming around the final sector, well, he's actually already come around the final sector. He's currently going into S1. And he's 0.2 seconds down on Verstappen's time, but he's quite significantly up on Ricciardo's time. So George Russell setting his first fast time for the session after having his interrupted by Sainz's little incident. Let's see if he can get into the top 10, a half hour up in the top 10, as 4 minutes are remaining in this session. And now we've got a few drivers now making the moves in the pit lane, getting out onto the track. George Russell's Sector 2 time compared to Max Verstappen. He's 0.3 seconds up on Ricciardo, but quite far away from Max Verstappen's time. That's not that quick, just by the way. Only 0.3 seconds up on Ricciardo's time. So Russell, rather, here is in a little bit of danger of maybe going out of this session. That's going to be something interesting to watch here. Russell is going to have to probably go for another push lap here. He did, obviously, I think, go for that strategy. I think that's what they're intending on doing. He's got enough time to go around again in a slow lap, a cool down lap, and then starting another fast lap. So I'm hoping that that's what they're trying to do. But his current time's not going to be that much quicker than Ricciardo's. So here he goes. He's going to cross the line now. First one since the red flag. And he goes into third position at 134.6. But again, I don't actually think that's going to be quick enough. I think that's going to be too slow. I think he's going to have to go around again. He's going to go in a cool down lap. And then I reckon he's going to get going again with another fast lap right near the end here. I don't think anybody is safe from from Norris downwards. I think Verstappen set a very quick time there. I think everybody can actually get a little bit closer to that. So everybody should make their way out, though. The McLarens are still in the pits unless they're going to release them very, very late on here. It does take a good 2 and a bit minutes to get around the track on a cool down lap. So if you're not out on track in the next 10 to 15 seconds, you're not really going to get around the track in time. Norris still in the pits. Piastri has made his way out. Will Norris make his way out, or does he reckon that he's safe? Lando Norris still in the pits, which means that I think he's not going to make his way out. I reckon they think they're quick enough. So a bit of a gamble here by McLaren and for Norris, but he's not going to make his way back out, and they reckon that he's quick enough. So Norris will remain in the pits. He's the only one. Everybody else is out on the track, putting in their fast laps as the 2-minute marker for the rest, 2 minutes to go session for the rest of the session has been sounded. And Leclerc is going around, and I'm going to keep my eyes on Sainz a little bit more than anybody else, because Carlos Sainz, of course, did cause that red flag, came into the pits, replaced his front wing, and has gone back out here. Let's see if he can get into Q3 and avoid any problems that he might have had as a result of that incident. Old Man Rue joining us here saying, come on, Danny Rick. Let's see if Danny Rick can get into the top 10. Potentially they can do. Let me know in the comments, guys, what do you think is going to happen here in the final minutes? Who do you think is going to drop out? Let me know your 5 drivers that are going to drop out. I'm very keen to see it. And let's keep it nice in the comments, please. There's no reason to argue here. We're all friends. And Charles Leclerc is still in his hot lap, but Carlos Sainz now starts a hot lap for himself. Will he spin out again? Will he be too nervous going to that final corner? Will he lose a little bit of time as a result of that? Hopefully not. You just got to put it straight behind you and just go again properly. And Carlos Sainz now going around. Let's see how close he can get to Max Verstappen's time as well. Nailed that first corner, I will say that much from Carlos Sainz. Really nailed it. No real jerking movement on his wheel in that first corner. So very, very good. Now, Max Verstappen's first sector time was a 25.0. Carlos Sainz puts in a 25.0 as well. He's pretty much bang on with Max Verstappen's time in sector 1. So this will be an interesting one. George Russell went back into the pits. He reckons his time is quick enough, a 134.6. So he's back into the pits. He's not going to do another push lap. So let's see what happens. Alonso's now just put the fastest first sector in. Compared to everybody else. So Fernando Alonso could be putting himself near the top there. Carlos Sainz now approaching sector 2. Let's see what sort of time he puts in comparison to Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc also going around quite quickly in his Ferrari. Sainz, though, quite significantly down on Max Verstappen in that second sector, 0.26 seconds. So currently good enough for second, but it's not going to be beating Max Verstappen's time anytime soon. Albon is down to Leclerc's time. Leclerc's currently the driver at risk, and Albon is not looking like he's going to get out of the session currently. Charles Leclerc is also quite a bit slower than Max Verstappen in that sector 2 time, but he should be quick enough. Hulkenberg finishes up a lap for himself. He goes into 6th position in his Haas. Will that be quick enough? I don't think it will be. There's quite a few drivers to get ahead of him. Ocon moves into 11th. He is officially out. He finishes up his lap. He's not going to be able to go quicker than that. He is out in 11th position currently. Will he drop further down? Ricciardo gets into 9th. He's currently in Q3. Will he be able to stay there, though? That's going to be the question for the Australian driver. It is done. Sainz goes into 2nd position. A great recovery from him after going and causing the red flag. A brilliant, brilliant turnaround from him. He goes to the 2nd position. Alex Albon is out of the session. He only goes into 14th, not quicker. Charles Leclerc needs a good lap here. He finishes up in 3rd position. Good lap for himself there in 3rd. So he goes into Q3. Perez now finishing up a lap for himself. He's a driver at risk, and he does very well to get into 2nd, right behind his teammate Max Verstappen. The 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Ferraris at the top. Will Bottas get into Q3? He gets into 10th. He does get into 10th. He does knock out Lance Stroll, and there you go. The 5 drivers in the bottom there that are eliminated are the same 5 drivers that I predicted earlier. Tell you what, I'm going to go and put some bets somewhere, because clearly I've got a bit of a predictions game going on here, which I'm winning. The 2 Alpines, Gasly, Ocon, are out in 15th and 13th. Albon is out in 14th. Ricciardo in 12th, and Lance Stroll in 11th. Those were the 5 drivers I predicted to drop out, and indeed they were the 5 drivers that have dropped out of the session. Valtteri Bottas in his kick Sauber does brilliantly to get into Q3, as does Haas's Nico Hulkenberg. Sainz on the radio just saying, so we can confirm all okay with the car? Sainz now responding to them saying, yeah, it must be. As he goes quite quickly there, quicker than his teammate Charles Leclerc. So clearly nothing wrong with the car, which is good to hear for Ferrari. So the 2 Red Bulls, 1 and 2, Ferrari 3 and 4, Norris in 5th, Russell in 6th, Alonso 7, Piastri 8, Hulkenberg 9, Bottas in 10 for that session. Of course, we've got Q3 coming up in a little bit. Let me know your predictions for the top 3. And let me just quickly go and get a glass of water. I'll be back in 2 seconds. So Williams are once again not into Q3, and that's a big problem for them. James Vowles needs to work out what's wrong with Williams there. They were doing so well last season, and they've really dropped quite badly. Indeed. Bob, if you could put that all into one message rather than spamming the chat with 10 messages, that'd be really appreciated. Race controls noted Q3 will start at 4 o'clock local time. That's in about 5 minutes time. Bob's top three, however, was Verstappen, Leclerc, and Perez. Well, an interesting top three there. I'm surprised that you don't put Sainz anywhere near the top there. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Whilst you guys are joining us, of course, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Like the video, please like the video. Really do appreciate it. That's a bit of actionable stuff that you can do. And be sure to check out the description of the channel of the video as well. And yeah. Go check out our channel sponsors there, BITDEFENDER, for all your cybersecurity needs. Click on that link. You can get a little bit of a discount with our affiliate code and get some award-winning cybersecurity for yourself. Bottas, for the first time this year, has made it into Q3. Great to see. Fantastic to see. TC is joining us. Great to see you here, saying, wow, Hamilton didn't even make it into Q2. No, he did not. He had a terrible Q1 session, and unfortunately, he is not going to be doing very well tomorrow in the race. I think he's going to have a bit of a struggle to get even anywhere near the top 10. Going to have to come up with some very interesting strategies, do Mercedes, to try and get any points for himself. It's going to be a difficult one. Again, not far away from the start of the final qualifying session. It'll be 12 minutes long. People are going to give me some predictions in the chat as to who your top three is, and otherwise participate in that poll, of course, as well. Those 4 drivers that were options are still there. Leclerc, Verstappen, Norris, and of course other. I think a lot of people's other, though, was Lewis Hamilton, and that's certainly not going to be the case anymore. Sainz, I'm surprised, is not getting more backing from some people. Of course, he's been the second best qualifying driver this season so far. So let's see if he continues that. Fernando Alonso, I think, is quietly plodding along in his Aston Martin, but I think he could aim a little bit higher. But yeah, I think he's still ruining his bit of a mess up this morning from the sprint, where he made slight contact with Carlos Sainz, caused a puncture to his front right, and he had to basically retire the car in the sprint race. Very disappointing for him. He was up there in third and was challenging and fighting for third in the 3 last laps. Very disappointing. A lot of Ferrari fans in the crowd here in Shanghai, showing all of their support for everyone. And yeah, looking at Lando Norris in his car here, wonder what he can do here in this final session. I'm hoping to see him right near the top there. I'd like to see the Red Bulls, Ferraris, McLarens all mixed up rather than, you know, the 2-2-2 that we've seen a couple of times. I'd like to see them mixed up. I'd like to see a session which is mixed up. So yeah, I think that's something that we're going to wait for, and yeah, let's see what happens here, guys. Just 2 minutes away from the start of the session. Everyone just chilling in the garage, waiting to get going. Watching Norris versus Piastri so far. Norris's best lap has been quicker in every single sector. Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3. 0.2 seconds quicker than Piastri his whole lap time. Sorry about that. So yeah, Bob here saying, yeah, whatever. Right, here's something you guys can do while some drivers are making their way out into the pit lane before the start of this Q3 session. You can let me know who's your favorite driver out on the track, who's your favorite driver in the current set of drivers in Formula One. Let me know in that session, as well as let me know your favorite driver in history. It can still be one of the drivers currently driving and racing, or it can be somebody in the past. But let me know in the comments there. I'm interested to see which drivers' names come up. Who's your favorite driver of all time, and who's your current favorite driver out in the grid right now? As the green light is given for Q3, and we have cars moving out into the track right now. Green light at the end of the pit lane. Less than 12 minutes remaining for Q3, and everybody's making their way out into the track. And let's see what sort of signs we'll see. We saw a 133 by Max Verstappen. Will we see anything near a 132 in this session? I would be very, very intrigued to see anything like that. I don't think we will, though. But let's see. The Ferrari of Carlos Sainz will be following Oscar Piastri out onto the track. Oscar Piastri, of course, the one that replaced Carlos Sainz in that McLaren seat. Carlos Sainz went off to Ferrari. Well, Piastri actually replaced Ricciardo, of course, but you know, it's still a little bit of a thing. Lando Norris was teammates with Carlos Sainz for years, and now teammates with Oscar Piastri. Carlos Sainz following that teammate of Norris's now. Carlos Sainz doing very well to get into Q3 after his little red flag incident. Did very well to get a very quick time as well, the third fastest time in that Q2 session. I wonder if he can get anywhere near the second fastest time this session. I think it's pretty much a given that Max Verstappen will finish in the top position, and he'll finish on pole for tomorrow. But let's see what can happen in second, third, and fourth. Maybe something happens untoward this session. Maybe Max Verstappen makes a big mess up, takes a little bit of damage, and it opens it all up. But I very much doubt it from such an experienced driver. Let's see here. F123 saying Lando Norris is your current favorite driver. Good to see. And Senna was your favorite driver of all time. Great picks there. Love it. Bob saying favorite driver of all time is Seb. That'd be Sebastian Vettel. And right now it is Verstappen. So people might call you a bit of a glory chaser. Though you just said Latifi's good. Latifi is, of course, the GOAT in Formula One. The greatest of all time, Nicholas Latifi. Loved it. Noel Portquita saying Max Verstappen's your current favorite driver, and Michael Schumacher. Shame, always we get very upset about Michael Schumacher every single time I see his name. Such an incredible driver who has had such an unfortunate series of events in his life towards the end of it. Well, he's obviously still alive. He's not dead, but it's a very disappointing one for him. He is essentially in a vegetative state and unable to do anything in his life, pretty much just sitting around. Really, really upsetting for Michael Schumacher. TC saying all time I have two, Senna and Mansell, Nigel Mansell. Great to see that. And current is Hamilton. So obviously a bit of a British fan there, TC. And Yanni are saying Max is your current favorite one, and Charles Villeneuve and Niki Lauda. So great driver picked names, drivers' names there as well. I love Niki Lauda and Villeneuve as well. Great one to have there. Verstappen now finishing up on a hot lap for himself. He's already had his first sector stolen away from him by Fernando Alonso. Though I think Max Verstappen's soft tires are not brand new. I think they're used ones, which is probably why. So just keep that in mind. But he has had his first sector stolen away by Fernando Alonso. Sector 2 is currently purple. Let's see if Fernando Alonso can steal that away from him as well. We've got only over 8 minutes remaining in this session. Fernando Alonso coming towards that sector 2 time. Does he go quicker than him? He does not go quicker than Verstappen in sector 2. Alonso has been very quick in sector 1 the entire weekend, to be fair. So not a surprise that he did get the purple sector in sector 1. Unable to get in sector 2. Max Verstappen still holds that right now. Sergio Perez is following his teammate. It got a little bit slower. Max Verstappen is the 133.9. It's slower than his best time in Q2. But again, I think it's on older tires. Perez now comes over the line. Let's see what he can put in. A 134.4 it will be. Not anywhere near Max Verstappen's time. Alonso now going to come across the line in just a little bit. Let's see what he can do in sector 3. Will he be able to go quicker? He's really motoring around. He nails the final corner. A 134.3. He does go quicker than Perez. He goes into the 2. He splits the Red Bulls, makes a Red Bull sandwich. Oh, Piastri goes slightly into the gravel like Sainz did, but he goes over 134.5, loses a tiny bit of time as a result that he would have gone into third, I reckon, had he not. Sainz now comes across the line. He goes into 134.7, a slow time by him. Now, Norris following him in. Let's see where Lando Norris goes. A 1:34.5. He goes to fourth. He goes ahead of Piastri currently. Leclerc finishing up a lap for himself before we have the end of the flurry of laps here. Leclerc crossed the line. Only a 1:34.7. Must be older tires for the Ferraris. And yeah, I think we're going to have to see quicker times by the Ferraris if we want to see anything decent this qualifying session. Under 7 minutes remaining. They need to get back to the pits, change those tires, get back out there and put in a new one. Watching a replay here of Oscar Piastri, just goes into the gravel there and just avoids that avoids the spin like Carlos Sainz did in the previous session. Does very well to correct the car after he goes into the gravel slightly, but that does lose him a bit of time. He would have gone into, I reckon, third, maybe even second position had he not had that little bit of an incident. But very well done by him anyway. He's up there still in fourth position. TC saying that Sainz has been a very different driver since his contract search has emerged. Indeed, he's become suddenly a hot prospect and a hot talent that you don't want to really get rid of. To be fair, even when they announced that Sainz will be replaced by Hamilton next season, I was upset. That's not to say I don't want to see Hamilton Ferrari. I think that's going to be quite cool. But it's just that Sainz, for me, is one of the best drivers on the grid. And he was at the time anyway. He was the only driver to have won a race outside of Max Verstappen and Red Bull for ages, and he still is the only driver since Max Verstappen and Red Bull's sheer dominance since the beginning of last season. So, you know, to have had a driver who's managed to get a win that's not Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez is very, very good. And Carlos Sainz the only one who's managed to do that, which shows that he's got the temperament to do it. So I just get so surprised that he's been replaced so easily. Of course, there's big rumors and big hints that he's going to be moving to Audi when Audi come into the sport. But that's only in 2026. There's still 2025 that we have to have a season for. Where is he going to go? We can't have a season of Formula One where Carlos Sainz just sits out for a season whilst he waits. We can't have that. Cannot happen. That's far too talented a driver not to be in a good seat. And Fernando Alonso announcing his staying with Aston Martin for next season and for 2026 was actually also a bit of a disappointment because I was hoping we might see Fernando Alonso make a bit of a move to Mercedes and then we'd see Carlos Sainz go to Aston Martin maybe. I was thinking that could be a thing that could have happened. Clearly that can't happen anymore. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where all these drivers end up. We've only got 4.5 minutes remaining of Q3. Everybody's back into the pits. They're getting new tires on. They're getting some changes getting done before they send them back out. Bottas has not set a time. Russell down in 9th. Hülkenberg down in 8th. The two Ferraris in 6 and 7. The two McLarens in 4 and 5. Alonso splitting the two Red Bulls right at the top there in 2nd. Verstappen in 1st. Perez in 3rd. Old Man Roo saying Senna and Hamilton are, so Senna being your favorite of all time. Hamilton being your current favorite driver, and special mention to Sebastian Vettel, one of my favorite drivers as well of all time, Sebastian Vettel. I really enjoyed Sebastian Vettel. I also really enjoyed Fernando Alonso. I mean, I loved Fernando Alonso's driving when he was a bit younger, and I still love it now. I think he's such an interesting character, and to be doing so well still at his age is quite incredible. Bob saying Checo can be better. Indeed, he can be. I think everybody can be better. Old Man Moose saying Sainz is a great talent. Indeed, he's a proper driver, and I'd really be disappointed to see him in a really subpar team next season if he does stay, or even worse, if he doesn't find a seat at all. I'm sure you'll find one. I'm sure you'll find it in a good team, I'm hoping. Maybe Mercedes will just take Sainz for a season, as TC says. Yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe Mercedes thinks we'll put Sainz in the seat for a season, but I think Mercedes have got bigger long-term plans. They've always been more about their long-term plans. They don't want to get a short-term driver. They want to stick with the driver for a good while and they'd rather build them up. So Mercedes might not go for it, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they do. Maybe they go for Sainz. Maybe they think, Sainz for a season is really not bad. If he does really, really well, maybe we can convince him to stay at Mercedes rather than go to the German partners Audi in 2026. So all the cars now making their way out of the pits for Q3 for the final attempt to get anywhere near the top there for the start of the race tomorrow for this qualifying session. I'm keeping all eyes on Alonso. I wonder what he can do. I really, really hope that he can get somewhere near the top 3. I think that'll be quite fun to see. I'm also watching Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc in those Ferraris. I think Russell might be a bit slow. The Mercedes has not looked particularly good. I'm interested to see how Bottas can finish up here and Hülkenberg as well. Perez, though, will also be looking to compete with Max Verstappen right near the top there. Can he improve? He's been slow compared to Max Verstappen the entire day. Let's see if he can do something. Strands of Fate saying Sainz is too good for Merck's current tractor of a car. Well, I mean, it's still better than anything else because Sainz will not be in a Ferrari next season. There's not going to be space in McLaren. There's no space, well, maybe a very, 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 very unlikely scenario finds Perez out of his seat in Red Bull and Sainz goes to Red Bull. I doubt it. I very much doubt it. But that's the only way that Sainz could find himself in a seat that's better than his Ferrari seat for me. That's the only way he finds a better seat is if he goes to Red Bull. Because he's not going to McLaren. He's not going to Ferrari, of course. It's very unlikely he does go to Red Bull, though. So it's a problem. But anyway, talking of the man, he starts a hot lap for himself in his current Ferrari. Of course, he still races for Ferrari. He's still got to try and put as much effort into it. If he has a brilliant season in the Ferrari, perhaps Red Bull think about swapping Perez out for that driver, and maybe Sainz gets convinced into maybe giving up on the Audi project and just joining with the Red Bull machine. Leclerc is following his teammate as well. Sainz in the first sector is slow compared to Max Verstappen, still 0.18 seconds slower than Max Verstappen, so that's not a good start for him. Charles Leclerc is also almost 0.3 seconds slower than Max Verstappen. It's pretty much give up already for Charles Leclerc to get pole position. So the Ferraris are not going to really be able to compete with Max Verstappen's current time, though Oscar Piastri bang on with Max Verstappen's time. But the Ferraris do find a lot more time in Sector 2 and Sector 3 compared to Max Verstappen. So we'll see if they can speed up on those longer parts of the track. Sector 1 is a very windy part of the track. The Ferrari is clearly better in the longer straights. Indeed, Max Verstappen's time is still looking good compared to Sainz, though Leclerc has got the fastest middle sector now, a purple sector for Charles Leclerc in Sector 2. Sainz has gone slightly slower in Sector 2 than his normal time, so he needs to find a lot of time in this final sector. Hulkenberg goes into 6th position. That's not too bad for the Haas, but I think that will be watched as Russell goes into 3rd position. Russell's up in 3rd. He's managed to find a good lap here, but it's not quicker than Fernando Alonso. Sainz is going a little bit slow here. I'm worried about him. I was hoping to go quicker. He needs to find a lot more time in Sector 3 here as he goes across the line at 133, 134. He goes into 2nd position at 134.29. He does find time in that 3rd sector, but Charles Leclerc might go quicker than him. Charles Leclerc goes over at 134.2. He does go quicker than Sainz. He moves into temporarily 2nd. Both of those two Ferraris are finished, of course. Oscar Piastri now in his McLaren. He comes across the line. He goes into 2nd. He goes quicker than both the Ferraris. Look at that from Oscar Piastri. Brilliant time from him. Valtteri Bottas crossed the line. He's not going to go anywhere other than 10th, slowest of the top 10 here, but it's not too bad for him to go into the top 10. Norris now crosses the line. Will he go anywhere near the top? He goes into 2nd quicker than his teammate. Everybody's beating everybody. Now, Max Verstappen, our current number 1, he's going to go across, but watching out for Fernando Alonso, who's going quickly apparently in the background. Max Verstappen goes even quicker than his current time, a 133.660. Couple of drivers still got to finish across the line here. We've got 2 more drivers to finish up their laps. It's Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez. Can Fernando Alonso get into 2nd position? Everybody's beating them out for that top 4 there. Let's see what Fernando Alonso can do as he comes into the final corner. 133, 134. Will he go? He does! Brilliant from Fernando Alonso, 134.148. He goes into 2nd position ahead of the McLarens and the Ferraris. Sergio Perez, though, just spoils the day a little bit for Aston Martin there. He goes into 2nd. Brilliant lap from him as well, from Sergio Perez. But Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin are smiling as they finish up the session there. There you go. A brilliant session. Not great for Ferrari, though, down in 6th and 7th, respectively. The McLarens, 4th and 5th, they're not be too unhappy with that. But Fernando Alonso and his Aston Martin up there in 3rd. Brilliant lap from him. And the 2 Red Bulls in 1st and 2nd. Max Verstappen gets the fastest lap in Q3, which we pretty much all expected. And nobody managed to beat even his first time. Very strong finishes, as James says. McLaren are honest. Max is ridiculously quick indeed. It is. McLaren have been good. They have been good so far. Let's see if they can do something in the race tomorrow. Max Verstappen, again, is on pole for tomorrow. And he's got his teammate to deal with alongside him, which means that Red Bull should have a relatively easy start tomorrow. But Fernando Alonso, brilliant up there in 3rd position. Let's just hope that they can find a little bit of race pace and manage the car a little bit better than they did this morning for the race tomorrow. But a brilliant finish for him to get into top 3 for Fernando Alonso. I think that's absolutely brilliant to outperform the McLarens and the Ferraris and the Mercedes. George Russell, terrible for him. As I said, I don't think he was going to be very high up, and he wasn't. He's down there in 8th position. And yeah, he's really not going to be able to do anything in comparison to some of the top there. So I think it's going to be a difficult race for Mercedes overall, with Hamilton down in 18th, Russell up there in 8th. Bottas getting into the Q3 was brilliant anyway, down in 10th, Hulkenberg in 9th, pretty much expected for those two. So going from the bottom to the top for tomorrow's race in terms of the grid. 20th position, Logan Sargent. 19th, Yuki Tsunoda. 18th, Lewis Hamilton. 17th, Kevin Magnussen. 16th, Zhou Guanyu. 15th, Pierre Gasly. 14th, Alexander Albon. 13th, Ocon. 12th, Daniel Ricciardo. 11th, Lance Stroll. 10th, Valtteri Bottas. 9th, Hulkenberg. 8th, Russell. 7th, Carlos Sainz. 6th, Charles Leclerc. 5th, Oscar Piastri. 4th, Norris. 3rd, Alonso. 2nd, Perez. And first, Max Verstappen. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and check the description for all of our channel partners. I have been Mark. Thank you so much for joining me for this qualifying session. We'll be live, of course, for tomorrow's race. It'll be just me, unfortunately. Reese is not available for tomorrow's race, but of course, it will be a great race nonetheless. Join me in China tomorrow for the 5th round of the 2024 season. Goodbye for now.